2, we can see JDG play it a bit wiser, play it a bit more tempered. Don't get so greedy. You had a great play to start it off to get a scuttle crab you shouldn't have gotten. From there, back off, make sure that you're playing smart.
Well, we'll have to see what the plan is going to be here as we get in towards pick and ban for game number 2. Still keeping our eyes on some of these big champions. Obviously, the Akali, Shinchao banned away, Rare Adam still have the opportunity to go back towards that Viego like we saw in the last game. So I'm curious what the plan is here, and if we're going to see a bit of a mix-up here from JDG.
Right now, we aren't seeing any mix-up coming in from Rare Adam. They went for the exact same ban, and there it is. Viego swapped out for LeBlanc, being left open for the possibility that Fofo takes it. He has taken it blind. He is more than confident taking it early and any draft, even if it does get countered.
I'm curious to see now what the priority is. We've seen Ore sometimes go back towards the Volibear as his first pick, although LeBlanc has been rising up in priority, and it is just going to be locked in. So, as we talked about at the start of the day, right, Fofo loves these champions that he can be a bit of a lane bully and have high impact in these early skirmishes, and LeBlanc is the key character that fits that style.
Yeah, but it can get easily countered by the Lissandra, and I want to see that grabbed immediately. Just a good answer, say, all right, you know, we'll just have the handshake. Sure, you're going to be able to have these flank potentials. You can assassinate the backline, but the takeaway of the Vars, maybe even the takeaway of the, oh, I'm actually curious if it's going to be the takeaway. Oh, the Silas instead of going for the Lissandra counter.
Yeah, we've actually seen Yagel play the Lissandra before, so I was curious if he would get it again. But gonna go back towards the Silas. Another matchup that does quite well into the LeBlanc. You answer for a lot of the burst because you've got your own healing, and you can follow up pretty well when LeBlanc distortions back with your dashes and also just with the chain lash as well. So definitely going to make things a bit easier. On the upside though, for RA, we're going to get the Volibear locked in. We've seen this flex between Cube and also Lian, but potential for it to go towards Lian. And now I'm curious if we get something like Thresh picked up for Hung at the bottom side. I think Hung has been an exceptional Thresh player, at least from the games we've seen him on it. Or if they want to go towards something like either the Jhin that we've seen obviously as his counter pick, or if they want to go and take a page out of Kramer's book and go for something like the Ziggs.
All right, here we are going to get the Renekton locked in for Cube as opposed to going for the bot lane just yet. They're holding off for that, seeing what might be banned away by JDG in the next rotation, just to make sure this Renekton cannot go back over to Zoom.
So now I'm curious what we get for Zoom, right? I don't know how I feel about that one. Like, I think from Ornn's perspective, it's like, cool, you've got a reasonably okay matchup, right? When we get to these team fights though, you've already got a hell of a lot of people that are going to be coming in from different angles, which is what Ornn hates. Ornn loves these front to back style fights where he can position himself with knockups and with that Call of the Forge God. But if you've got to deal with Fofo coming over a wall, Lian potentially jumping over one, Renekton coming in on a flank, it becomes really hard to operate this Ornn pick. So if JDG are ahead, it can become very impressive, but in a position where they're even or even slightly behind, it becomes kind of hard for Ornn to have the same impact you'd expect.
And it will take a long time, at least if they're even, for him to have that impact. It's just one of those champions that he can do pretty solidly in lane. He just got great base damage, and I'm curious to see how they're going to make this work. It's going to be definitely Kanavi, the carry. We've seen this many a times, and you can even see that RA understand that. They're taking away any potential to scale up into this game, and I'm wondering if they just double up on the jungles, try to see if they can get something like that Rumble, something like that Diana into his hands.
Yeah, I'm not surprised too much by the Kindred ban, especially when you're looking at a composition that wants to dive in like this, and especially against the LeBlanc, Kindred works wonders. I wouldn't be surprised to, as you said, ban the Diana from Kanavi.
Yep.
Although you do have obviously a lot of AP damage already in your mix, so I think they will be looking towards more of those AD-orientated junglers. But there's been a lot taken off the board. I mean, Lee Sin, the Nocturne, the Kindred, Viego, Jinjet, like there's so many of these AD junglers that have already been taken off the board. I'm curious what we actually get to see coming through from Kanavi.
Oh, even getting rid of Trundle, just even if it's not necessarily a carry jungle, just something that's going to be an AD threat that you're going to have to worry about. And JDG, they've got to have some sort of secret. They're holding on to the jungle counter pick. You got to have something special ready.
I like this though. They're like, hey, look, we can actually go for a Lulu Kog'Maw here. Like, we're going to be pretty all right against Varus and Thresh. We can go okay, and would definitely help in trying to get through this beefy front line that we're seeing coming through from the likes of Ornn. Doesn't really give too many stats over towards something like the Sylas as well if he wants to steal away the ultimate, but actually going to have iBoy go back towards kind of his old faithful, which is the Kai'Sa, and you kind of need to pair this then with some sort of strong engage tool. Something like that Nautilus could be good. Leona as well, we've seen quite a bit.
Yeah, I would expect to see, if you're going to go for something that's going to pair up well, the Nautilus is just like tried and true classic, the Kai'Sa Nautilus we've seen once it gets that level 2 if you are trying to play aggressively. But instead, they want to go on to Hong, on to this Rakan that he's already had an amazing success for the team with. But it's going to be into a very difficult matchup into that Thresh. You can easily play him back the moment he tries to jump in, even grab him before he's able to actually do anything.
This Graves could actually be the pick for Kanavi. He said, hey, look, you need a bit of AD damage. You're very AP based right now. You want something that's a bit more parry orientated, and it is. It's going to be Kanavi going back towards this Graves. Now, just a reminder to folks, Kanavi used to originally run this with Smite Ignite Graves. So there is always a potential for us to see that little bit of spice coming in, but I definitely think this is kind of your best pick here for Kanavi with so many junglers banned away and needing that AD damage. It does make a lot of sense. The only problem is that Graves, there's a reason he's falling out of meta. It's because we're not getting him the opportunity to just snowball ahead by invading, clearing camps, getting this big advantage for himself. That way, the camps aren't respawning as fast. They aren't giving you as much of a lead. And it means that when you come into these matchups, he's going to need to be a little bit safer and won't be able to be as big of a threat as old school Graves was.
Not as big of a threat, but definitely still a threat. Something that you're going to have to deal with because he is not going to be easy to kill off immediately. And this is something, it is a classic Kanavi pick. His Graves is the stuff of legends. It is one of those comfort picks that he falls back to over and over again. Like you said, grab it onto the Smite Ignite at times just to be able to exert that much more pressure for the team.
And I think we'll feel... I wouldn't be surprised if we see a similar story here, right? He's definitely someone who likes to get these early skirmishes going, and we've already talked about how we want to see it more towards the bot side. We got it down, or sorry, the top side, we got it down towards the bottom side in the last game, which didn't quite work out, but we'll have to see what the game plan is here for Kanavi. Obviously still an incredibly fast clear and can do reasonably well against in the jungle matchup, so we'll have to see if he's going to be able to at least help himself out as he starts to move around the map.
And he's gone for the Dark Harvest onto the Graves as well. I know that it's something that we oftentimes see now with Graves, but it really, to me, shows that JDG diving into Game 2 against RA, they are looking to see if they can scale into this game and be able to win it out late.
It is going to be the flash smite from Kanavi though, but I certainly, when I look towards Kanavi taking Dark Harvest, my mind is like, cool, you need to get involved in lanes, right? This is, you need to be able to start proccing these, and then Dark Harvest kind of scales pretty well into the late game just with the amount of damage you can pick up, but it does have to start in the early stages, otherwise this rune doesn't do a huge amount. So looks like Kanavi will be trying to use Graves' quick clear into pressuring these lanes. Even starting on the top side here, might look to punish iBoy and Hong on the bottom lane.
I like this answer on the side of Rare Adam, because you can look at the Keystone from, and he's gone for the Predator, which you often do see, well, I mean, kind of like back and forth dependent on for the jungle of Volibear. But this, to me, indicates that he expects Kanavi to be looking for a lot of these early plays, as you were talking about there, Dagda, that he expects to have to compete against Kanavi in laning and in ganking.
Also gives him the opportunity to actually like go aggressive onto Kanavi, right? Because when you see the Graves, it used to be that phase rush rune that you would take quite a bit, because hey, look, you know, you get multiple, or get that 3 shots off very, very quickly, and then you can zoom away from any sort of pressure that you have. But if you're going to take this Dark Harvest, a Predator can allow some aggressive trades from Lian, and if Lian can close that gap with the CC, with the AP damage, he can actually trade very effectively against Kanavi. And hell, if you got Fofo who's following up, even Cube is following up, that could be Kanavi dead very, very quickly.
Especially because this is another composition where if you look at how RA are going to function, every single one of these members of RA can dive into the backline, can dive onto Kanavi, onto Loken, and make sure that they're all a part of that snowballing wrecking ball unit that is killing everyone.
Well, right now, Yagao is kind of under a bit of wrecking ball pressure from Fofo. This is what we're talking about, that lane bully that gives so much control over towards Rare Adam when it comes towards these early scuttles and also these early objectives. And I'm expecting this to try and continue, and maybe even seeing a bit of roaming coming out from Fofo as well. Has the electrocute, wants to try and make aggressive moves in the early stages. Kanavi, he talks about him maybe moving down here to try and make some sort of play on towards Rare Adam's bot side. He has been spotted
here. A lot of minions here that are going to start pouring on to this tower. Even though iBoy, Hong, they're pretty healthy. It's going to be the smoke screen, looking to see if they can at least get on top of them. They will be safe and be able to see if they can keep alive this bot lane.
I'm actually kind of surprised we're not seeing Fofo TP, right? Yagao has no mana. You can potentially fight this, though you don't have your jungler there, as maybe we're actually just going to see Leanne start to move down, and maybe they look for the play after the fact.
Could look to see if they can fight around the Scuttle Crab, but there is so much denied there from iBoy by Kanavi. Just being in the bot lane, you can see Leanne's like, all right, you know what, there's no feasible way we can even contest the Scuttle Crab.
And that's why I'm kind of surprised that like Rare Adam kind of just let it go towards the wayside, right? Because you could see Yagao wasn't in a position to try and TP down. Fofo could have just gone down towards this bottom side, turned that play around, have Leanne try and run in, and there's not a huge amount of escape tools there for like Loken. Doesn't have anything like the cleanse, he'd have to burn his flash, and you guarantee that iBoy isn't falling massive far behind. Now instead, he's going to have a level disadvantage, he's down in gold, and it's going to be a long time before iBoy is able to try and fight back here. You can see almost a 300 gold lead for Loken simply because of the lost wave.
It's huge, honestly. I think this is going to be a great thorn in the side of RA, looking to potentially have these skirmishes early on, get Leanne as part of this, because all Kanavi has to do is constantly show up into the spot lane, make sure that iBoy is never going to be in a position to do anything throughout this game.
And the problem for iBoy is that this wave's pushing out directly into Kanavi, and Lumao, he's free to go and try and make another play. Now they realize they've been spotted on a ward, but you can still see a lot of pressure already towards Hung and iBoy.
So much pressure, and I doubt it ever will stop unless RA themselves make a play into the bot lane, because top lane is an Ornn matchup. You're not really looking to see if you can get too much onto that. If you're RA mid lane, you can see that Yagao is playing it relatively safe, trying to see if you just stay back towards his tower and constantly heal up anytime Fofo actually plays aggressively.
The problem here, though, is that like Kanavi's spending so much time on bot side, Leanne is just stealing away everything. Like, look, 10 CS lead there for him. You look at the gold, it's a 300 gold lead for Leanne as well. And we talked about, hey, look, Kanavi wants to be trying to get these Dark Harvest stacks. He wants to be trying to get the snowball rolling. It's not quite going that way. And although the bot side of the map is in favor of JDG, we look at the top half, it's certainly Ore favored.
Exactly, because the Renekton Ornn matchup right now getting a good shove from Cube onto Zoom to try to see if he can control the top lane. But the big problem for me is, yeah, you know what, Cube, it's good. You're able to shove in this Ornn and stop him, but it's still an Ornn. Ornn doesn't really care if he's behind, if he's ahead, because all that matters is he's going to be a tank and be a giant meatball for the team in these fights.
Yeah, and I'm curious to actually see what we get from Loken, because usually when we think of Ornn, it's like, cool, well, you know, you want that little bit of late game scaling that can come in and help out. I mean, the only person that I can kind of see really having that big effect would be an unhit Varus, where you can benefit a lot by the Ornn scaling, but not so much if you're going to go this lethality build. Same when you look at Kanavi, who's also going to lethality style. Your scaling is going to be pretty negligible. It's not like you're going to have a massive impact. iBoy,
yeah, he's taking a lot of damage. He is a bit lucky that Kanavi's only level 5.
Yeah, but going back to it, like, the double lethality, Silas as well, you can kind of extend your mid game, but it's not like you've got great late game scaling coming through, even with the Ornn items. So I'm curious to see what the plan is here from JDG, but actually get it answered. Lethality builds across the board, they're still looking to just be a bit more poke heavy.
Oh, they're going to be able to get the stun onto Yagao. He tried to dive back on top of Fofo, but the damage comes in from Lian to make sure they take first blood.
Just about able to get that for Fofo, but again, like, this is what we highlighted at the start of the day, right? This 8-minute mark is when we get to see RA go for these plays. They're getting Fofo's leads so they can turn it in towards the Rift Herald. Cube already has full pressure top, now you're getting pressure in mid, and they can just turn this top lane 3v3 into an RA win. We need to see if Loken and Lumao can try and get out of this bottom lane, but iBoy and Hung pushing aggressively into the bot side, and Yagao thought he'd done a great job in poking, but kind of low on mana. Flash forward coming through from Lian to set up for Fofo's chains, and Yagao invests a lot to try and finish off Fofo. Nerdy gets there, but unfortunately isn't quite able to lock down that slippery LeBlanc.
So close, and the fact that Fofo survives, even if it's only an assist, this LeBlanc is already going to be in a position to now move around the map. You can see that Yagao trying to be the first one, got all the way back to the lane just to be able to shove back to Fofo, because he knows once it's an even lane-to-lane matchup, Fofo is going to shove out and rotate everywhere.
Remember what we said though, right? Loken and Lumao, if they want to try and move anywhere, they need to push in that wave, and especially if you're looking towards this Rift Herald. But iBoy and Hong have just said, hey look, we're just going to move first. We got that opportunity for the lane. So now Lian, he's free to go for this because that top half of the map for RA is so much stronger. Looks like though, the JDG want to commit to this, but Cube is going to be able to move first.
Fofo getting a bit of damage on to Loken on the other side, trying to see if they can get all the members of RA to be able to group together. They need them to be one unit, because it's about to have the reset on the Rift Herald. They're going to get the knockup on. Ooh, and they burst down Lian. They've taken out the tank. Cube bounces around as well. Even if he's dominating, he is out of there, and the eye was picked up by Kanavi.
And they were so split on Rare Adam's side, they needed to commit to a direction before JDG were able to come in with Zoom, but not willing to just jump on towards the 4 members of JDG in the bot side means that you get the opportunity for Zoom to come in, they separate Rare Adam, and now they get the Rift Herald for themselves, and a nice little bit of gold as well. You can see it here, right? If Lian commits to the bot side here alongside Hung and Fofo, maybe they can actually take that 4v4, especially with how low Loken is. But instead, they end up separated, and JDG pounce on the 2 members of Cube and Lian on the top side.
And it also works out so well for JDG there, because the target selection was on the Lian, who didn't even have Stormbringer up, so there's no way he could get out once they made the call to jump onto the jungler. Plus, as you had mentioned, they were split up. How in the world was RA supposed to back up the jungler there?
Yeah, a little bit of a misstep there from Rare Adam, but does mean we're back to square when it comes towards the gold. Kanavi, though, we've already seen him put so much pressure bot side. He's just going to continue to do so. He's got the Rift out of his back pocket, and iBoy is just going to be punished over and over again.
Yeah, he should just pop. Look at this iBoy. He's not even showing. Oh, no. Oh, he's smart. That's a good call by iBoy, saying, all right, something's fishy here. I don't trust this.
Yeah, kind of needs to do the same, though.
Yeah, I was about to say, he just dies. There's not much to say there. He's just dead on arrival. But you gotta learn from iBoy there.
Yeah, it doesn't respect it, and now, yes, you get the turret and bot side. You will get a second charge, but turret plates can be answered in mid. They need members of RA here, though. iBoy can't defend this bottom turret by himself.
Yeah, that's going to be 2 full charges out of Shelly. In fact, is it going to be a third one? No, okay, it will be stomped by iBoy just in time, but that is 2 towers taken from 1 Rift Herald for JDG. That is a massive influx of gold.
And I love how JDG are playing this. This has been so good from the get-go, right? We get that early play down towards bot side, deny a bunch of CS away from iBoy, and then having opened up that weakness from RA, they keep going.
Uh-oh, Cube nearly getting 1v1 by Zoom. Zoom and his tanks, you do not mess with his Ornn.
Just about able to escape away from that, but Dominus no longer available. A lot of members from JDG active on the map as well. We could see some pressure towards that top side, but it looks like Lian there to try and dissuade it. Now though, JDG, they're the ones in the driver's seat, right? Faster reset, out first because of their tempo, and now they can start to look towards the dragon. They can keep pressure on this top side and allow Zoom to keep punishing Cube.
And this is also a point when they are starting to spike because they've gone for this lethality build for both Loken and for Kanavi, both of them. Duskblade of Drakthar, not even the Prowler's Claw from Loken on this Vars that we normally see. He is truly trying to make sure that they can have the most amount of damage early in these fights.
JDG now looking over towards this dragon. TP from Fofo in towards the mid lane. River definitely belongs to JDG though. Especially as you can see Yagao pushing at that bot side. Lian starting to move in. The thing is though, like you don't really have pressure here. You can try and maybe look for a bit of burst damage from Fofo, but an actual fight seems a bit out of range.
Oh, right now it looked like another split fight for RA. They peel off just in time. The TP scares them, and that is 2 dragons picked up by JDG with relative ease.
And here's the thing, I don't mind Fofo trying to go for this kind of flank maneuver, but Lian certainly needs to be positioned with iBoy and with Hung. And it's something that we kind of touched on the last game with the volley bears, that he's great when he's able to come in and kind of be the, if you can get him on the flank, but he's just as good if he's working as that secondary engage tool, right? Providing a front line for iBoy and Hung when Cube isn't able to get there.
Oh, quickness, bot lane. Both of them running, pretty much seeing who's the faster of the two, and all the while, because there's so much committed, Yagao absorbing a lot of pressure here. He might have died twice, but every time a play is attempted on him, Rare Adam, they forfeit plays elsewhere, which JDG are punishing him for.
Yeah, and this is the thing, JDG, as we said, they're playing this incredibly well. Getting that pressure on towards bot side, they get 2 towers out of that play on towards iBoy. We got Kanavi now, who's very much accelerated in this game as well, thanks to being a facilitator towards Loken. So when we look towards the ability for Kanavi to have an impact with just the amount of gold he's going to be pretty damn good. Especially when you look at like Fofo, who's going to be relatively untanky. iBoy as well, who's got to play this short range. If Kanavi has access to either of these champions, he can look to burst them out.
And it can, and I'm just watching to see what Rare Adam are going to do to be able to see if they can bring back this game. It seems that they want to set up these picks, but each time it's read like a book by JDG, always thwarting them, always playing this one cautiously, because why do they need to play too aggressively if they are in full control of how the map works?
And this is where JDG are far more comfortable, right? Where they're not really at the opportunity getting picked up by their opponents. Like, they're moving as a group versus trying to find that vision control back, where oftentimes we see Lumao going that bit too far forward and getting caught out. Yagao as well doing a great job of keeping the side lanes in control, and it means that as we start to get towards this next Rift Herald, JDG, priority mid, control a river, they can move over.
They move over, they're starting to get a lot of damage. They even use the Chain of Corruptions just to force back iBoy and Hong, making it so that they have to play so passively. As this turret is nearly taken down, there's a Rift Herald up if they want to be able to get that. They don't really need to pressure anything immediately.
And actually, as I said, you know, control of river for JDG, actually a large portion of it is RA favored, especially they've got that Scuttle Crab there as well. So now Kanavi spots Cube out as JDG not really in a position to move over towards Rift Herald. Is actually going to be a Rare Adam pickup.
I kind of like this from Rare Adam because this is my problem with JDG right now. While they don't have to play aggressively, their build speaks otherwise to me. Seeing 2 Duskblades in their inventory when we know that Leon's going to get really tanky. We know Cube eventually is going to be that bruiser who will be able to absorb a lot of the poke coming in from JDG. I need to see them utilizing this lethality soon. Otherwise, I just worry that they're not going to have enough damage to just take down this bear.
Yeah, they will have a lot of burst damage for backliners. Like, as we said, iBoy, Fofo, if you get hit by, you know, Blighted Quivers, shot, plus you've got the Kanavi ultimate, you're probably going to go down, or at least to pretty much below 100 HP.
Sure.
The bigger issue, though, as you said, is like, if a lot of that damage being sent into the front line, then that becomes a problem. And iBoy, with the build he's gone, is certainly looking to play this more front to back style, right? He wants to try and use the Kraken Slayer on towards Zoom. He's not going the Gale Force build, which is more of that assassination mobility style. So now you're in this situation where RA are like, cool, we're just going to match you front to back. Your lethality is going to be dumped in towards Frozen Fist, in towards Dead Man's Plates, or in towards Thornmails that are going to be picked up by Cube. Like, a lot of it is just not going to work because the lethality just won't scale particularly effectively.
Exactly. I need to see JDG soon play proactively, find plays, find picks, because even though they have these scaling options, they've got the 2 dragons, and they're already starting to see if they can rotate around towards the dragon pit on the bottom half of the map. I need to see them make sure they can at least contain RA away from ever getting close to these objectives, because right now RA are doing a great job at forcing them back instead.
And Riptor goes down in mid to do just that. 15 seconds until this dragon. You've got JDG who have all started to mix up in this mid lane, which gives the opportunity for RA to move in. Fofo as well, trying to see if he can dart in and get some poke damage off before this fight actually starts.
RA are playing a bit back though, because they do understand that there is that damage that will come in from JDG if they're too far forward. If they don't play with respect towards this lethality, the doubled up in both Loken and Kanavi, they can get bursted down. They're on to the objective, and they're hoping that Fofo is going to be enough, and Hong on the other side with the quickness. It's going to be double quickness, and they burst down this Recon. They might have gotten the Dragon, but iBoy gets completely caught out. Even with a killer instinct, he'll go down. Double kill for Yagao.
And I think that was just messy from Rare Adam. Didn't know if they wanted to go in, go out. Hung is trying to delay them. iBoy, even though he has Flash, gets caught on the opposite side of the pit. I think he just needed to go into the pit with the team and flash over the wall. Instead, he gets caught. And I like that Fofo was trying his best to keep back JDG, see if he could poke out some of these core members and stop them from getting that aggressive play. But unfortunately for them, it's still 2 kills going the way of JDG.
With this, they even get a larger gold lead themselves. They've got a lot of gold into Yagao, who they had put so much time and effort to make sure they can contain.
You can see Hung kind of moving up there, seeing if he could potentially find a flank, but just runs into all of JDG's members. Here as well, iBoy, you just run into the pit in this situation, flash over the wall, get out with the team. You see everyone else's escape as Fofo.
He's going to be able to distortion away, but he has got to be careful. You can see the damage that can come in. I think it was just one auto from Kanavi onto Fofo that did most of that damage.
Yeah, and that's why we were saying, look, between the Graves and between Loken, if you can hit onto these squishier backline targets, you're in good shape. Especially as Fofo tries to dart in, he'll be entering Kanavi's range, but still has to play it very, very carefully. And I think especially for both Kanavi and Loken, I want to see them pick up a Maul Mortis fairly soon. Because it feels like the only real way that Fofo is going to have an impact this game is if he does burst out Kanavi or burst out Loken. If they can survive that and survive that initial burst from Fofo, they can probably play this front to back style, keep poking, keep having that threat on towards Rare Atom.
And that is what they're doing. They're trying to get the Magic Pen from Fofo. They're even getting, like you had mentioned before, the Kraken Slayer from iBoy to be able to take down these members a lot quicker on JDG. But the question is still there. When will that happen? When will they actually have a fight? The front-to-back style that they have clearly built themselves up to try to have.
Well, we may actually get a chance here. Fofo could pop over the wall directly into Loken. That's not where you want to be standing.
He missed the chains, though. He was able to get the orb, but no follow-up damage on top of this ADC. He just sidestepped it completely, and still nothing really happening for RA to be able to punish JDG in the slightest.
Again, though, like, you always have to be careful here at JDG. One misstep, and it's very difficult for you to recover. iBoy can follow up Killer Instinct. Fofo coming over the wall. Lian with these flash stuns as well. Predator on the volley bear as well.
True.
So at the moment, though, JDG are playing this correctly, right? Slowly pushing in side waves, creeping that vision forward. But that vision needs to be so key into them controlling this game. 2 minutes until Dragon. I'd love to see them start to move in now. Use the fact they have mid-priority, that they can try and get a little bit of that deeper vision control for themselves now, get that quick reset before our dragon spawns, and then continue pushing that vision line forward.
We are getting the tug of war. Good wards coming in from Kanavi, even having, I like this Edge of Night, just to make sure it's that much more difficult to actually see if you can assassinate him, because he has got that big target on his back. Same with Loken. I wouldn't be surprised, actually, if we even see Loken go for an Edge Knight himself, just to make sure it is that much more difficult for RA to actually assassinate him.
Yeah, exactly. Anything at all. Like we were kind of talking about the Hex Drinker. I think Edge of Night fits that as well. Just making sure that Fofo has the most difficult time. Because as we said, look, Fofo has been the mainstay carry for Rare Adam. And if you're making his life difficult, you're making Rare Adam's life difficult. And especially in this kind of scenario where we're talking about, you've got this lethality, kind of poke style coming through from Kanavi, coming through from Loken, but also a hell of a lot of burst potential. If you aren't being burst out, it gives you the opportunity to turn that around on towards Fofo.
Exactly, and they are close to it. They are starting to get these ornaments. They're getting the Ornn upgraded items so they can have even more burst potential themselves. You can see there's 2 lethality items on their side besides just the Duskblade, that Edge Knight, Serpent's Fang, getting this extra bit of damage. So no matter what, they are going to be able to constantly harass RA members. Even Lian takes a good amount of damage from these piercing arrows if he's not careful enough.
Deep TP coming through from Yagel, though. That was nearly a bit dangerous, but will steal away the quickness from Hung. As we look at where Fofo is, right back in base, trying to see if maybe he can TP here. Will go towards the minions. Might be able to cut off parts of JDG here as they look to re-enter the river.
But he was spotted out by that control ward right there outside of the lane. It has been the dragon started up by JDG. They're trying to see if they can force in Rare Adam. They want to be able to get the fight. It's going to be the smite secured with the Stormbringer over the wall as they drag back in Cube. They even have the huge ultimate trying to see if it can separate RA members. Yagao wants to be able to pick off Fofo running away. Has the distortion possibility, but he doesn't. He wants to be able to regroup with the team. 4 members of RA are completely split apart. They're just getting chased away completely. iBoy gets bounced around. He's the easy target. Kanavi immediately assassinates him with 1 auto attack slap.
Yeah, and iBoy getting caught out there. I'm not sure if the Blast Cone... Actually, no, Blast Cone's about to spawn, so it wasn't a mess up there. But either way, they get caught. JDG now on towards Baron.
Here's the TP in from Zoom as well. 50% on to the Baron. They have Lian, who's still here, but he does not have the ult to be able to enter the pit. He's trying desperately. He's bounced around. It's Fofo, and they couldn't get it, but they got the kill onto the bear as Hong gets killed off by collateral damage. Fofo tries to run away, but Yagao, he wants to be able to get his revenge from the laning phase with Kanavi here as well. That is a lot of damage, and he's the true assassin.
Not able to finish off Kanavi, and now Baron up a 6,000 gold lead for JDG as well. They are firmly in the driver's seat of this game, and it feels like it's only a matter of time until they can close this one out.
This is a great turnaround from game 1 to 2 by JDG. And we talked about when you don't have a mistake like you did with the Scuttle Crab, like you in this game, they were able to turn everything around in the early game to a point where there's just nothing really RA can do to come back from this.
Yeah, you can see there, everyone jumps on towards Lian to stop the volley bear getting into the pit with the smite. Hung and Fofo tried to see if they can make a play, but unfortunately not able to kill Kanavi, not able to steal away the Baron, and then there's just too many members of JDG about. And even you can see here, Fofo tries to go for the burst damage, but Kanavi too tanky at this stage, not able to do so.
It's one of those things, you think he's not that tanky, but it is Graves. He is able to get so much damage. And with the help of that Edge of Night, too, to survive, now they've got Baron. They've got a 7,000 gold lead. It's a quick game 2 already, and it's JDG who want to force a game 3 against RA.
Loken, though, does end up using the Chains of Corruption there to stop Lian getting involved in that fight. Predator was used by Lian to try and close that distance, but still have to be careful here as JDG. Still a lot of burst damage from Fofo. Even though he couldn't kill Kanavi, still can dissuade a hell of a lot of this pressure if he can get on towards Loken. But you can see he's trying to play keep away from the Varus right now.
Feels like Rare Adam, they have so little they can do in this, and JDG are playing patiently. There's no rush for them anymore. Not when they have this huge lead to be able to deal with here. It's 26 minutes into the game. They've taken mid lane completely out. Bot lane soon to fall as well, with Rare Adam only watching on in horror.
Yeah, the base is going to disintegrate here, and now they got the minions and the Barons. They got that big beefcake and Zoom. They can look to take these Nexus turrets.
And I don't know what Rare Adam can do to be able to actually stop this. Look at the damage onto Cube. He had to go golden to be able to survive. And here's the call of the Forge God, going to be able to get the knock-up on the lay-in. And they burst him down. Cube is still alive, but he was only able to get Kanavi in the back line. They still have a huge fight from JDG, chasing down the members of Rare Adam underneath their Nexus certs. They fall easily. iBoy is getting chased down by Zoom on the other side. Tank versus ADC. He might have built to be able to cut down tanks, but he is cut down by an arrow, and game 2 is picked up by JDG.
And they managed to push us to a game number 3. Much more calculated approach from JDG. Punishing iBoy through that bottom side, consistently hammering the nail into the coffin from that bot lane. From that position, you've got Loken, who's